The engineering team, who had never worked in HubSpot a lot prior, they still come to me and ask, would it be at all possible for you to set up an email for XYZ? And they think that's a crazy ask. But I'm always like, of course we can do that. I am Madelyn Donovan. I'm the Senior Marketing Operations Specialist at Butler Technologies. And there I work on marketing operations, project management for everything marketing and sales. And I am our HubSpot admin. We are in manufacturing. We do everything precision printing, screen printing, and technology. We serve OEMs in a variety of industries, from automotive to medical and healthcare to consumer electronics. Everything we do at Butler Technologies is a custom product. That means that our engineering team is inserted into the sales process. So from a project management or an operations point of view, it's very hard to control and improve efficiency for your sales process if another team is involved. So what we were hoping was to get everybody on the same page in the same platform so that we could streamline. So before, we would get a request for a quote that would come in through HubSpot. The sales team would evaluate the request, see if it was a right fit for us. Then they would send over a request for an estimate from the engineering team. The engineering team and the sales team would have to collaborate on certain information that they needed. That could take a few days at a time sometimes. Then the engineering team had to produce an estimate in a separate system. We use EPMS as our ERP system. Once they got that estimate, they had to return it to sales, who would then form that into a quote and send that. So lots of different systems, very lengthy process, not efficient whatsoever, not trackable. None of the quote information was being stored in the CRM. I was very excited to connect with Conveying Your Message when Chris kind of explained what the problems that he saw with manufacturers working in multiple systems and trying to navigate this process in HubSpot. Chris really validated my problems that I was going through with trying to figure out products and line items and connecting ERP systems and dealing with the limitations of our current process, but also dealing with the limitations of HubSpot at the present time. It was great to find a partner that understood that and that we didn't have to really convey our needs a ton. I think how we started was figuring out what information was needed to be shared between both teams and where that needed to live in HubSpot. And the deals object was a really natural start. We thought on the deals object, we could have different views for different teams, and then it kind of all snowballed from there. Yeah, so when the sales team has a deal that they're going to need to get quoted for a customer, they'll start on the deal and come down to a playbook that we created. We had to decide what property formats would be appropriate, how to format the data, where to save all of the data. The solution type was another property that we started using a while ago just for marketing's purpose. We wanted to see what types of deals we had in the CRM, but as we were trying to really get this organized, conditional logic was a big part of this project. So knowing what was required of the sales team when it was a certain type of product was really key. Overall, there is just a lot of technical specifications required, especially for all of these different types of products. And when all of that was shared over email, or even if it was saved into a note in the CRM, it just wasn't super usable. But now that it's organized as data points within properties on objects in the CRM, it's a lot more functional, and we can use this as a foundation for all of the rest of our processes. Once the sales team submits the playbook, which they are required to, which was another key piece in this process and kind of getting engineering buy-in, was assuring them that they would not have to do anything. They would not be notified that anything was required of them until they absolutely had everything they needed in order to do their job well. Once they got all of these technical specifications from sales, they should have everything they need to do an estimate. Yeah, so once the playbook is all filled out, it is submitted. And what I ended up doing is creating a workflow that combines all of the data into 2 text fields. We didn't have that before. That was still functional too, having it all separate, but what I realized was because there's so much conditional logic at play and there are so many different sets of info, it was better to combine only the data that was needed rather than confusing the engineering team with a lot of info that was blank. Multiple teams getting used to a new process. So having different views and keeping them as simple as possible while keeping both of those views robust was a challenge, but that was good for getting buy-in from both teams too. This is the engineering view, all blank right now, but once the sales team would submit the playbook, all of this would populate, and the engineering team would have everything they need to create an estimate on their side with the tools that they use, and then provide a PDF version basically to the sales team so that the sales team can then take that, make a quote, and create line items on the deal so that all of the product information, pricing information, quantities, all of that kind of stuff is in HubSpot so that we can reference it now, but reference it later too. As much as we love HubSpot, it can't do everything, nor should it do everything. Being a custom component manufacturer means that there's a lot of different pricing data and engineering data and all this kind of data that does not live in the CRM, lives in our ERP system, and the engineers have kind of compartmentalized and started only using the ERP for that data, but then having everything else come over to HubSpot. Having all of the customer-facing data, all of the sales process data in HubSpot has really simplified it rather than trying to have sales data in 2 systems. Now it's really just engineering comes over here, brings the data that they need to, and sales doesn't have to fragment their process just to get the information that they need. So another great thing is that the engineering team can work off of HubSpot's index pages and dashboards as their own queue now. So rather than them having to use our ERP system to reference what projects are ready for estimates, and when they need to switch over to HubSpot and just come right back, they can work right out of HubSpot too. So they have a list of anything that's ready for an estimate from sales. And again, they're confident that it has all of the information that they need. Customizing their view in HubSpot was another way to really just make change management easier, and really customize the platform for each user and what works best for them, while also keeping everybody aligned and on the same page. The engineering team, who had never worked in HubSpot a lot prior, they still come to me and ask, would it be at all possible for you to set up an email for XYZ? And they think that's a crazy ask. But I'm always like, of course we can do that. And they're so excited. And I'm excited that they wanted to bring some idea to me, and then I set it up right away for them. So they're continually finding ways to use the platform in a way that works for them, setting up their own custom notifications, and things like that. So that's been really exciting to see. Conveying your message as a partner was able to really provide the insight around whether we were going in the right direction, whether we were thinking the right things. A lot of the time, we kind of got stuck wondering, should this be a property? Should this be just a note somewhere? Should this person be logging this as a text field or as a drop-down? How should we use the left side panel or the middle panel. Things that we didn't want to get so far into the process building it, and then realized that it would have made more sense another way. Chris and Salim were really great about just kind of giving us their 2 cents on if it was right or if it didn't really matter which way we went about it, or if there was a totally different suggestion that we hadn't even thought of. Especially when it comes to custom objects and how to store data. That's a great example of how we needed to store data where it needs to be now, but we also want that data to be stored where we need it later. So we didn't want to have to create anything from scratch. They were able to help us decide which objects data should be stored on now and later. I think the value of partnering with someone who's staying up to date with HubSpot and the system that you're using was made apparent probably the first week that we worked with you guys, when you showed us the product details beta that had just come out, because that was kind of the reason that we even started going down this path of thinking about this, was because we wanted product history on deals. And we wanted to be able to see, okay, if this person wants to reorder a SKU that we already have in their system, how easy can we make that? And it was really crazy to me that that wasn't an existing feature. I tried combining data in dashboards and reports. I tried making a report and embedding it as a report card on deals and companies, but just nothing seemed to be working. And I want to say the very next week, Chris sent me a link to the product history update, and Courtney and I just kept saying we were crying tears of joy because this made the whole partnership worth it, and we hadn't even started yet. We've gotten a lot of great feedback from the sales team. They've talked about how much more efficient the process is, how happy they are that quotes are able to be turned around so much faster, how great it is to have all of the data in one place and not have to switch between systems all day long. And we've had a new team member kind of join the sales team and get brought up to speed, and having him explain how seamless this all seems to him and how much sense it makes to him, that's been really validating too. So we've received a lot of just kind of general feedback that the process makes sense to them, which is great to hear. Like that's what we want, that it having something make sense to multiple teams might sound like a simple thing, but it's harder to achieve than it should be. So having multiple teams agree that a process is efficient and that they like the way it works is definitely a win in my eyes. What is one aspect of the new order quoting process that you find most useful? Some people said that it forces certain fields to be filled out, so there's less chance of missing crucial information. I've had a great experience working with conveying the message with Chris and Salim. It's great to work with a partner that is tech savvy and like technical minded as far as the CRM and how it all works, but that can also articulate how they view an issue. Like being process minded while being technical experts is a great combo, but you guys are also very familiar with change management and dealing with people who are actually going to have to be using these systems. So that all is a great set of things that we really needed in a partner, not just one or the other. And having you guys have all of those skills so that we don't have to pick up any one of those skills just by ourselves. I think I'm just feeling great about where we are right now. I think myself and Courtney and I think the rest of the team members that are involved with this, a few months ago, we probably didn't know where we would be now. And it's great to have moved so efficiently, but also feel so confident in the process right now and feel confident about where we're going.